The moment his hand struck my face, the entire room went silent. But what shocked me wasn't the slap. It was the fact that he thought I would stay. If you believe no one deserves betrayal from their own family, like this video, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. Because stories like this don't just entertain, they reveal the truth people hide. My name is Elena Carter, and everything I'm about to tell you, it's not just a story. It's the moment I stopped being a victim and became someone my family never saw coming. I wasn't born into weakness. I was raised in silence. My father was a powerful man, wealthy, respected, feared even, but you'd never know it by looking at me. Growing up, he made sure of one thing. No one should love you for your last name, he used to say, and no one should fear you for it either. So I lived quietly. No luxury cars, no flashy clothes, no connections. Just me, my studies, and a life that looked painfully ordinary. And that's how I met Daniel. Daniel Hayes was charming at first. He knew exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make you feel like the only person in the world that mattered. I met him at a bookstore cafe. He spilled coffee on my notes, apologized as his life depended on it, and then insisted on buying me dinner. It felt like fate, or at least I thought it was. We got married faster than we should have. Looking back now, there were signs, small cracks in his behavior that I ignored. The way he talked about money, the way he compared people based on what they owned, the way his smile faded when he thought no one was watching. But I loved him. Or maybe I loved who I thought he was. The truth didn't reveal itself all at once. It started slowly, like a quiet storm. After we got married, things changed. Daniel became colder, distant, then controlling. "Why don't you dress better?" he'd say. "Why don't you try harder to fit in with my family?" His mother, Rebecca, made it worse. She looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. "She's too plain," she once whispered, loud enough for me to hear. Daniel could have done better. And Daniel? He said nothing. I tried to win them over. I cooked, cleaned, smiled through insults, endured silent treatments, all while slowly losing pieces of myself. Because I believed something stupid, that love required sacrifice. I didn't realize I was the only one sacrificing. Then came the dinner. The night everything changed. It was Daniel's birthday. His entire family was there, his parents, his sister Chloe, and a few close friends. The house was filled with laughter, but none of it felt real. I had spent the entire day preparing, cooking his favorite meal, decorating the dining room, and even buying him an expensive watch I could barely afford. I wanted him to feel loved. I wanted to matter. But when I handed him the gift, he didn't even smile. "This?" he said, holding the box as if it offended him. "You couldn't get anything better?" The room went quiet. I felt my chest tighten. "I thought you'd like it," I said softly. That's when Rebecca laughed. "Oh, honey," she said, sipping her wine, "this is what happens when you marry someone below your level." Below your level. Those words echoed in my mind. And then Daniel said something that broke something inside me. "She doesn't understand quality," he said casually. "She's not used to it." Not used to it. I felt humiliated, but I stayed quiet, because that's what I had trained myself to do, until Chloe spoke up. "Honestly, Daniel," she smirked, "I still don't get why you married her." And that's when Daniel looked at me, with no emotion. "No idea," he said. That was the moment. The exact moment something inside me snapped. I stood up slowly. "I think I should leave," I said. But before I could take a step, Daniel grabbed my arm. "Sit down," he said through clenched teeth. I pulled away. "I said I'm leaving." And that's when it happened. His hand came out of nowhere. A sharp, sudden slap across my face. The sound echoed in the room. No one moved. No one spoke. I stood there, frozen. My cheeks are burning, my heart is pounding. But what hurt the most was the silence. No one defended me. No one even looked shocked. Rebecca just sighed. "Well," she said calmly, "maybe that will teach her some respect." That's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't new to them. This was normal. I looked at Daniel, at the man I thought I loved, and for the first time, I didn't feel sadness. I felt clarity. Without saying a word, I walked out. No screaming, no crying, just silence. I got into my car, my hands shaking on the wheel, and for a moment I just sat there, breathing, thinking, remembering. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I picked up my phone and called my father. He answered on the first ring. "Elena?" His voice was calm, steady, and somehow that made everything worse. "I need your help," I said. There was a pause. Not long, but enough. And then he said something that changed everything. I was waiting for this call. I closed my eyes, tears finally falling. "Come home," he said. And just like that, the girl who stayed silent her whole life was about to disappear. Because they thought I was weak. They thought I had nothing. They thought I would stay. But they had no idea who I really was. I didn't go back to Daniel's house that night. I didn't answer his calls, didn't reply to his messages. At first, they came in waves, angry, demanding, irritated. "Where are you? You're overreacting. Come back home. We need to talk." Then, hours later, the tone shifted. "Elena, I didn't mean it. Just come back. We'll fix this." But the damage was already done. Some things don't get fixed. They get revealed. I drove for hours that night, away from the city, away from the noise, away from the life I had been trying so hard to hold together. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself think clearly. By the time I reached my father's estate, the sun was just beginning to rise. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of place that didn't beg for attention, but commanded it. Tall iron gates opened before my car without a word. Security was already been notified. He was expecting me. I stepped out of the car slowly. For a moment, I hesitated, because walking through those doors meant something. It meant I was done pretending, done hiding, done being less. The front doors opened before I could knock, and there he was, my father, standing exactly the way I remembered him, calm, composed, unreadable. But when he looked at me, really looked at me, something in his eyes shifted. He didn't ask questions. He didn't demand explanations. He simply walked forward and pulled me into his arms. And that's when I broke. Not from the slap, not from the humiliation, but from finally feeling safe enough to fall apart. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "For what?" he asked quietly. "For not listening to you, for thinking I could build a life on my own, for—" He gently pulled back. "Elena," he said, his voice firm but soft, "you don't apologize for trusting people. You learn from it." That was the difference between him and everyone else. He didn't see my pain as weakness. He saw it as something that needed to be understood, and then handled. "Tell me everything," he said. And I did. I told him about Daniel, about the way things changed after the wedding, about the insults, the control, the quiet manipulation, and finally, about the slap. He didn't interrupt. He didn't react the way most people would. But when I finished, there was a silence in the room that felt heavy. "He hit you," my father repeated. Not a question, a statement. I nodded. Another pause, and then he exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said. Just that. Okay. But I knew that tone. I'd heard it before, years ago when someone had tried to cross him in business. That calm? It wasn't peace. It was control. "Go get some rest," he said. "We'll take care of this." I should have asked what he meant. I should have felt worried. But instead,
I felt something I hadn't felt in months: relief. For the next 2 days, I stayed inside. No phone, no contact with the outside world, just silence. Time to think, time to heal. But outside those walls, things were already moving. Daniel tried to reach me again, but this time, something was different. His calls didn't go through. His messages bounced back. Even his emails were blocked. At first, he thought it was me, that I was being dramatic, playing games. But then, reality started to shift. His account was frozen. At first, it was just a delay, a technical issue. But then, suppliers started calling. Payments weren't going through. Contracts were being questioned. And then came the meeting. Daniel was called into an emergency board meeting.